Hey guys, coming at you from my home office outside today. It's too pretty to be stuck inside. I've already had 2 walks and now I decided I'd do Tuesday's lesson out here in the sunshine. So I'm gonna go over the Unit 8 study guide that you should have from It's Learning. Even though your summative tomorrow and Thursday is open note, I would encourage you to do the study guide and become familiar where all the things are located in your booklet and have your worksheets ready and your study guide, because sometimes a lot of time can be wasted hunting for an answer instead of if you just take the time to review some material, right, and that you know some stuff before you get started. Okay, so here we go. Number 1. Many things contribute to water pollution. What are the 2 main underlying causes? So those are industrialization and rapid human population growth. Number 2, list the 4 types of water pollution and give an example of each. So sediment pollution, that would be clearing trees for housing development. So any kind of deforestation happens, the rain comes and whoosh, there goes that sediment all into our waterways. Nutrient pollution, that would come from excess fertilizer runoff. Toxic pollution, that would be coming from chemicals from household cleaners, paints, those kinds of things that we just chuck in the ground. And then bacterial, so that would come from any kind of animal waste or like a septic tank leak or, yeah, those kinds of things. Probably livestock, right? Too much poop from livestock. Number 3, what is the difference between point source and non-point source pollution? Well, point source pollution comes from a specific site. So a power plant, a nuclear power plant that takes water out to make electricity, and then it's going to return the water back into that river or lake, probably going to go in warmer than how they took it out, so that you could even point, hey, I see where the water is coming out. A landfill that springs a leak, there's not a lot of landfills in one area, so when you would come across that pollution, you could trace it right back to that specific landfill. Non-point source pollution is pollution that comes from many sources rather than a single specific site. So that would be fertilizer runoff. Any kind of runoff from any kind of parking lot or road, because everybody uses the parking lots, right? Everybody uses roads. Many people have lawns and use fertilizers. You don't even have to have a lawn for fertilizer to be used. You could live in an apartment building and your complex probably uses fertilizer when they take care of their lawns. So those types of things where a lot of people contribute. Litter would probably be another one. Number 4, name 2 nutrients that contribute to the process of eutrophication. So eutrophication is that natural process where nutrients enter a waterway, and that causes excess plant growth, usually in algae. The algae consume the nutrients, then they eat up all the food, and then the algae die, and then the bacteria show up and they consume the algae. Now that's a natural process in many aquatic ecosystems, and that's contributed to phosphorus and nitrogen, which are found naturally. Number 5 is a fill in the blank. So here we go. In the process of artificial eutrophication, excess nutrients running off land into water cause algae blooms. As the algae consume all the nutrients and die, bacteria break down the dead organic material, consuming all the oxygen, making the area uninhabitable for organisms, and then it turns it into a dead zone. Number 6, thermal pollution and artificial eutrophication are similar in that both decrease the amount of dissolved oxygen in the water, right? So artificial eutrophication that causes those dead zones, it's because there were too many nutrients in the water, a huge algae growth. The algae consume all the nutrients, the bacteria show up to eat all the dead algae, and then by the time they get finished, they've consumed all the oxygen. Thermal pollution, the higher the temperature of the water, the lower the dissolved oxygen that's available for organisms. Number 7, Where does the greatest amount of ocean pollution come from? Human activities on land. What we do every day impacts our oceans. Even living so far inland, it does. Number 8, give an example of how light pollution impacts the environment. Well, I'm sure, you know, you've noticed when we've been outside, right, at nighttime, you have a hard time seeing all the stars that are in the sky. But the other one is the turtles, right? So when the turtles are supposed to hatch at the full moon, if there's too much light pollution behind them, then they can't tell where the ocean is to follow the moon, or they unfortunately turn around and they go back towards the artificial light. Number 9, typical causes of smog include the burning of fossil fuels. And you can forget about areas located in a valley or basin and thermal inversions. We didn't talk about that mess. 10, acid rain results from burning fossil fuels. The sulfur and nitrogen oxides produced bond with water vapor. 11, acid rain is a source of international conflict because pollutants are released into the air in one place, then fall to the ground as acid rain in another. Remember when we talked about that Twin Lakes activity, the acid pollution that fell in New York State was caused by the car manufacturers in Michigan, in Detroit. So the pollutants were put in the air in Detroit and then traveled with the winds, bonded with the water vapor, and then fell as acid rain. And of course it can fall as acid rain across the border in Canada, and then people don't like that. Number 12, why is the ozone layer important? Well, it shields the Earth's surface from most of the sun's UV light. The ozone in the stratosphere acts like a sunscreen for the Earth's inhabitants. Number 13, what do scientists believe caused the hole in the ozone layer? Well, they believe the use of chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, in coolants for refrigerators, cleaning, sprays, deodorants, those kinds of things. So the use of CFCs. Number 14, name the treaty that was signed to reduce the amount of chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, released into the atmosphere, and that was the Montreal Protocol. 15, our oceans absorb carbon dioxide. The more carbon dioxide absorbed, the more acidic our oceans become. Acidity in the oceans affect the formation of shells and exoskeletons of many invertebrates who form the basis of marine food webs. 16, global warming is the gradual increase in the average global temperature due to a higher concentration of gases such as carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. 17, what are some possible consequences of a rising temperature? Okay, so melting ice. Species impacted by rising temperatures, so like hibernation patterns changing, migration patterns changing, sea levels rising fast, rain and snowfall increasing across the globe, and then invasive species, sorry I got attacked by a wasp, are thriving. 18, El Nino is due to a weakening in winds in the western Pacific Ocean. Warm surface water in Australia and Indonesia moves eastward towards North and South America. This brings drier weather to Australia and Indonesia and wetter weather to North and South America. 19, how does El Nino affect the weather in Georgia? Well, brings wetter winters in our state. And then 20, the Kyoto Protocol required developed nations to reduce carbon emissions by 2012. However, it does not require developing nations to meet the same goal. So that was the Kyoto Protocol. Now, one more thing that has not been mentioned on your review sheet is the Montreal Protocol, which is just as important as the Kyoto Protocol. So in the Montreal Protocol, that was that was essentially what got the world to stop using CFCs and to protect our ozone layer. And actually, we all worked together and solved that problem. Hopefully, just like we're all working together to solve the current problem. Alrighty, guys. Catch you on the flip side. Good luck on your test tomorrow. Use your booklet. Use your handouts. Do not use another human being or your phone or Google. Be honest. I mean, come on. Be honest. All right, talk to you later. Bye.